Tonight's speech had the structure of a Jenga tower mid-earthquake. I'm Ethan Blake, and I'm here to guide you through the magnificent collapse it began with. Confidence took a hard left into delusion and ended somewhere between denial and disaster. I'll break it down, roast it gently, and serve it to you with extra sarcasm and zero apologies. This isn't just analysis, it's comedy therapy. If words could self-destruct, this monologue would have exploded on contact. So let's laugh, learn, and light this rhetorical dumpster fire together. Welcome to the Edge of Reason.
They had guys making fun of people for going to Yale, and a bunch of people who went to Yale.
In a stunning moment of clarity, Stewart torched the Democratic Party's double standards, exposing their hypocrisy with his signature razor-sharp wit and unfiltered honesty, a takedown only he could deliver.
The Democrats had people who prosecuted sexual predators and...
It was savage, it was hilarious, and it perfectly captured what millions of Americans have been thinking. Buckle up. This takedown is one for the history books. Let's hit play.
Had a guy yelling, "Screw the billionaires," followed immediately by a very happy billionaire. It's all okay if it's our billionaire.
His first target? Bernie Sanders, the self-proclaimed champion of the working class who shouts, "Screw the billionaires," while comfortably indulging in the very luxuries his wealth provides. Jon Stewart tore into the DNC's favorite talking points, exposing the absurdity of claiming to represent the middle class while being bankrolled by the ultra-rich. Even fellow DNC insider Bill Maher couldn't stomach the hypocrisy and openly called Bernie out on live TV. The moment was raw, unapologetic, and brutally honest. Stewart didn't hold back, and neither did Maher. Take a listen. This takedown hit harder than anyone expected.
This is against why people sometimes, I think, question some of what you're saying. This is a survey student loan forgiveness recipients. 73% of applicants say they are likely to spend their extra money on non-essential, including vacations, smartphone, drugs, and alcohol. They admitted that to the pollster.
Now, who is this pollster?
NBC News. 52% they are very likely to buy new clothing. 46% they would use the money for vacation and eat out at restaurants. This is why people have a thing about, I would never call it free money. Oh, I guess I just did.
Yes, believe it or not, even Bill Maher called out Bernie Sanders for his blatant double standards. Because at the end of the day, truth is truth. And facts don't care about talking points. When those facts hit Bernie square in the face, his reaction was telling. He looked stunned, like he'd seen a ghost. That's the unmistakable expression of someone cornered by reality. Hypocrisy has a funny way of doing that, ripping the mask off right in front of the cameras. But the best part? The interview that truly exposed Bernie Sanders for what he is. Here's the clip that sealed the deal. Take a look.
You've gotten criticized from other people. Free Beacon says Bernie Sanders spent $221,000 on private jets fighting the oligarchy tour, paid for by friends of Bernie Sanders. That you've spent millions of dollars in campaign funds on private jet travel over the years. How do you push back on both of those things?
When's the last time you saw Donald Trump during a campaign mode at National Airport?
No, it doesn't. But he's also not fighting the oligarchy.
See how the DNC operates? The moment they're backed into a corner, they reach for their favorite get-out-of-jail-free card, Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders was asked a simple, straightforward question: why he flew on private jets, not just for himself, but also for his family and friends. His answer? Donald Trump. That's it. No accountability, no explanation, just pure deflection. It's honestly laughable. And it's no surprise the DNC is losing supporters by the minute. They've mastered the art of performative outrage. But when it comes to actual substance, they've got nothing. And Bernie wasn't the only Democrat Jon Stewart went after. Just wait until you hear how he torched another high-profile figure on the left.
They had guys making fun of people for going to Yale, and a bunch of people who went to Yale.
Now this is fascinating for several reasons, which we'll break down later in the video. But here's the real kicker. Mocking people for attending Yale, while one of the Democratic Party's own former presidential hopefuls also graduated from Yale, is peak hypocrisy. You simply can't rage against elitism while sipping from the same Ivy League teacup. It's the kind of political theater that insults the public's intelligence, and yet they deliver it with a straight face. Out of all the DNC heavyweights Jon Stewart hilariously roasted that night, his takedown of Bill Clinton was truly next level. Get ready. This one was epic. Take a look.
Democrats had people who prosecuted sexual predators and...
This is truly epic, and not in a good way. If Democrats genuinely claim their mission is to combat moral corruption in America, then they need to start by cleaning up their own backyard. Let's be honest, their ranks include more than a few morally questionable figures. Kamala Harris, a former prosecutor known for locking up sex offenders, standing on stage with a former president impeached for sexual misconduct? That's not just tone deaf, it's next level hypocrisy. The double standards are glaring, and the public sees it. Jon Stewart, of course, had an absolute field day with this one. And just when you thought he was done, next on Stewart's roast list was none other than Oprah Winfrey. Buckle up.
We just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady...
Did Oprah really just say cat lady? Seriously? At first, it might seem trivial, even harmless. But wait until you hear what Jon Stewart says about the woman the camera zoomed in on right after. Suddenly, it's not so funny. It's awkward, revealing, and exposes the elitist undertones in their messaging.
Love that the camera just stayed on her. She literally turned around like, are these saying is this? Oh, hold on.
Oprah didn't just casually use the term, she practically weaponized it, using it to mock and belittle a woman who didn't fit the polished, glammed-up image the DNC prefers to project. The message couldn't be clearer: conform or be ridiculed. If you don't look the part, act the part, or vote the part, you become a target. It wasn't just a joke. It was a glaring example of how the elite often view everyday Americans with thinly veiled contempt. And Jon Stewart wasn't about to let that moment slip by unnoticed, but here's the twist. The middle-aged woman Oprah was mocking, she really was a cat owner, a literal, real-life cat lady.
The crazy part. After this cutaway, the woman was interviewed. She is childless and has 2 cats.
The woman Oprah mocked really was a cat lady, a retired librarian who had rescued over a dozen stray cats and proudly embraced that identity. But Oprah's tone wasn't lighthearted or affectionate. It was dismissive, almost sneering. When the camera zoomed in on the woman's visibly uncomfortable reaction, it was clear the comment had hit a nerve. What was supposed to be a playful moment quickly turned into a cheap shot, revealing just how disconnected some elites are from everyday people. Rather than acknowledging the woman's compassion, Oprah reduced her to a stereotype. Whether it was intentional or not, the insult landed hard. And it wasn't a good look. But just when things couldn't get more awkward, up next came Kamala Harris. And that roast, it was scorching.
Growing up, we moved a lot. I will always remember that big Mayflower truck packed with all our belongings, ready to go to Illinois, to Wisconsin.
Kamala kicked off the night doing what she's become known for, making things up on the fly. No surprise there, as she remains the undisputed queen of word salads. She rattled off a list of states she claimed to have visited, rambling through her usual collection of vague talking points before finally landing on her current residence. It was classic Kamala, performative, overly rehearsed, and lacking any real substance. Then came Jon Stewart, and the tone shifted instantly. With sharp, surgical precision, he sliced through the fluff and called out the absurdity of her statements. What she intended as a polished political moment quickly turned into an unintentional comedy sketch, and Stewart made sure the audience saw it for exactly what it was.
Name swing states. Just say that you moved to swing states, that you moved to Michigan, to Georgia, you moved to Arizona. Just make it up.
This is the same Kamala Harris who once claimed she listened to Tupac and Snoop Dogg in college. years before either of them had released an album. That kind of improvisation might work in an acting class, but not on the campaign trail. Voters saw right through the nonsense. Her presidential campaign crashed and burned before the primaries even got underway. Why? Because people don't trust someone who speaks like a broken GPS, confused, off course, and endlessly repeating the same 3 buzzwords. Her word salads aren't just cringeworthy, they're politically toxic. And Jon Stewart? He didn't hold back. He served her a cold dish of reality, exposing the empty performance for exactly what it was. It was brutal and long overdue.
But this is great. We finally get to meet Communist Kamala, the radical that we have heard so much about.
Brace yourself for an absolutely epic moment from former Vice President Kamala Harris. Trust me, this one's a gem, equal parts baffling and unforgettable. Just when you think she's run out of surprises, Kamala delivers a performance that leaves everyone stunned, and not in a good way. This clip is the perfect snapshot of why she's become a magnet for both laughter and disbelief. Get ready, because what you're about to see explains exactly why so many people find her speeches more confusing than convincing.
Harm against any one of us is a harm against all of us.
Okay, Stalin.
Never realized the Democrats were giving off such strong communist vibes. Good to know, though. Let's keep the clip rolling. This just keeps getting better.
I fought against the cartels who traffic in guns and drugs and human beings, who threaten the security of our border and the safety of our communities.
Wait, this is actually interesting. No surprise, the Democrats lost the election. Anyone with a shred of common sense could see right through this charade. But let's hear what was said next.
I will tell you, these fights were not easy.
Why are you doing the thing that they told us that you were going to do? With the hammer and the sickle and the bandoleros with the jello shots and why are you doing this?
We all remember how you handled the border crisis, Kamala. Under your watch, illegal border crossings surged to record highs, overwhelming law enforcement and putting immense pressure on already strained communities. This wasn't just a lapse in judgment, it was a full-scale leadership failure. Criminals exploited the gaps, slipping through the cracks while every day, law-abiding Americans were left to deal with the fallout. The border descended into chaos, and while that unfolded, the economy wasn't far behind. Inflation skyrocketed, labor shortages worsened, and your administration offered no clear solutions, only more confusion and political spin. Americans saw it all unfold, and the damage is still being felt across the country. Then came Jon Stewart's takedown of the DNC, and it was nothing short of legendary. He called out Bernie Sanders for preaching class warfare while enjoying the perks of privilege. He torched Kamala Harris for her incoherent speeches and inability to lead. He exposed the DNC's double standards, claiming to fight for the middle class while cozying up to the ultra-rich, condemning elitism while elevating Ivy League elites. Even Oprah's infamous cat lady comment was spotlighted as a symbol of the disconnect between the Democratic elite and the very people they claim to represent. The message couldn't be clearer. While Democrats preach virtue, their actions reveal a pattern of hypocrisy, elitism, and detachment from real-world struggles. Stewart's comedic precision didn't just get laughs, it exposed the cracks in a party that's losing its grip on authenticity. If Democrats don't change course, if they don't face their failures with real accountability, they won't just lose elections. They'll lose the trust of the very people they claim to fight for. The spotlight is burning bright, and it doesn't lie. That wraps up today's video. If you appreciated our bold, unfiltered breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fearless content. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.